Welcome to Modern Farm Business Podcast. This podcast is designed to help the farm leader bring their business to the next level. We'll cover everything from leadership and finance to strategy and planning. I'm your host, Dean Hefta. In business and in life, the easiest things to focus on are the things we don't want. We don't want to run out of money. We don't want our employees getting hurt. We don't want our neighbors driving through our field. You get the picture. In practice, though, diligent focus on what we do want helps us to better create thinking and actions that align with achieving our goals. Today, we're going to dive into this thinking and we're going to apply it on the farm situation to understand how we can approach problem solving and creating the world that we want from maybe a different perspective. Let's get started. Let's start with an example on the farm around the topic of safety. If you go to many large corporations, a safety culture permeates everything they do. Meetings start with identifying the fire exits. You have to back into parking spots. Safety glasses have to be worn at all times, and the list goes on. They very much focus on creating a safe work environment. However, on the farm, the focus can very easily shift to what we don't want. We don't want people getting injured. We don't want people running into things. We don't want people slipping off of things. See the pattern? Our focus is on what we don't want. Don't get hurt, we say, without any real thought or instruction on what we want instead. What's interesting about a don't want approach is that our brains process in the positive. So when I say to you, don't think of a pink elephant, I would bet the first thing you thought of was a pink elephant. See, I didn't tell you what I wanted you to think of, so you didn't have a positive element to process. If I told you that I wanted you to think of a blue cow, you would have easily been able to focus your mind on a blue cow. And in the process of focusing on what I want you to think about, by default, you've not thought about the pink elephant. I've accomplished the goal. So back to the farm. As the leader, fostering a culture of safety, if that's what you do want, falls on you. Here are some tools for you to apply the do want mindset to the safety on the farm. First, make a list of the things or behaviors that you find problematic, the things that you've seen where people get hurt or you know there's potential for injury. If you want, you can put this list on the whiteboard in the shop and get the team on board with this. Get them looking for areas where we might have some issues that we need to address. And this is the only time we're really going to use that don't want mindset. On your list, you might find things like jumping off the implements, going into bins alone, not using all of the steps on the semi, leaving the combine running while you work on it, or maybe leaving the forklift with the forks 3 feet off the ground. All of these are potential problems just waiting to happen. Now, what becomes frustrating as a leader is what I call the safety whack-a-mole. You remember the game where plastic moles would pop up at random and you'd have to hit them on the head with a mallet? That's what this can become. It's continually catching people doing the wrong thing. The problem is if we only focus on what we don't want them doing, we haven't replaced the behavior with what we do want them to do. Example, if we want everyone to use a 3-point entry and exit system for the trucks on the farm, we establish how we want it done. We train everybody how to do it and why this is important. And this is how we get it in place first. And this is what we do want. Then we can coach behavior towards it. It gives us the ability as leaders and coworkers to have a shared understanding of quality and how we do things, rather than saying, hey, don't jump out of the truck. We can instead remind people, remember, use the 3-point exit. This focuses people's minds and ultimately their behaviors on what we do want. This approach, focusing on the behaviors we do want, training them, and then coaching them to them, are beneficial and useful. Whether we're running a dentist office and you're coaching your staff on how to greet patients, Or you're leading the school fundraiser and there are some critical things that you want to make sure that the people do. Take time to identify what we want for outcomes and the key thinking and behaving that will be important for everybody that's involved. We can then teach those critical behaviors, explaining the why, and coach to it. Now, the other benefit of having best practices identified is when we or the people on our team find a better way of doing things, we can now go back to that core, that basic skill, and update it and teach and train people to that improvement. So we're not locking ourselves into one way of doing things. It's really a way that we can continually improve our skills and our approaches to doing things. So a quick review. Recognize that when we are working to make a change, our natural position can often be on focusing on the things we don't want. The problem is when we're moving away from things we don't want, we haven't necessarily identified what we do want. I encourage you to work to be aware of this at play and shift towards what you do want. Once we identify the things we do want, we can begin breaking down the steps of how we will go about achieving our goal and overcoming potential obstacles in the way. This approach is helpful whether you're working to create a safer farm business or a better customer experience at our restaurant. I hope this has been useful and a thought-provoking episode. Also, thank you to Water Street Solutions for supporting this program. They work every day to help their farmer clients move toward their business priorities. If you want to learn more about ways they are helping farm businesses, give a call to 866-249-2528. That's 866-249-2528. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next week.